Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I have a fun project to share with you for Papertrey Ink, and we're using a new stamp set that's over at the Papertrey Ink shop. It's part of the December 2022 release. It's called Love is Everywhere. There's a whole lot packed in this stamp set. You have a hot air balloon that's shaped in a heart, and then there's lots of planters and then scene building elements like clouds and hearts, and the planters are nice because you can customize any planter the way you like it, which is really nice. There's greenery, there's a topiary, there's flowers, and we're going to create a fun scene using the hot air balloon today. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of die cutting first before we jump in and do our stamping. There is a coordinating die set you can see here. I'm going to take the hot air balloon base, and just using a piece of white cardstock, I'm going to die cut this out. And I'm also going to take a piece of white cardstock and die cut out a heart. This way it's easier for me to stamp on my die cut images. I'll run these through my die cut machine and then I will be right back. So I have my heart here that's layerable, which is really nice, and then I have my hot air balloon that I die cut out. I'm going to leave it in here, bring in my stamping positioner, and then we're going to do some stamping using our stamp set. I'm going to go ahead and place this in my stamping positioner. I have a sticky mat that makes it really easy for removing and placing my die cut images. I'm going to lightly, carefully remove my die cut image, and then I'll do let's do the same thing with our heart up here. We'll do both at the same time. Okay, and then we have two elements here. We have the large heart. I'm going to go ahead and place this inside my negative piece. This way I know it's perfectly positioned. And I'll do the same thing with the strings to my hot air balloon. These are separate. Okay, I think that's going to work great. I'm going to go ahead and pick up both of my heart and my hot air balloon strings with the lid of my stamping positioner, and then I'll take my die cut images and place these back in their home here. This is where that sticky mat comes in handy. Okay, for my balloon strings, I'm going to use dark chocolate ink. So I'm just going to use my mini ink cube here, and we will stamp our balloon strings. Wonderful. It's perfectly positioned on there. Let's show you. I'm going to leave my strings in here because I'm going to stamp the strings once more on this heart too. But I do want to ink up this heart. We'll color that in with Berry Sorbet ink. I love the corally color of this. And we'll go ahead and stamp this. Wonderful. So now we have our heart on our balloon stamped. I am going to lift my heart up here. We'll remove this. Okay, and then I'm going to use a little bit of tape behind this heart, and I'm going to tack this down on my balloon here. And then I'll re-ink my balloon strings once more, just where the knots are. That's the most area that I'm concerned about. And then I'm going to stamp, because just those little extras on the balloon you'll be able to see. Using the leftover piece here, I'm going to do a little bit more stamping with the, we need a flower pot for our card today. So I'm going to use this one here. And we'll just put this on an acrylic block along with the detail piece. And then we have the greenery. I'm going to be using, I like this greenery here. So we'll put this on acrylic block also. In the stamp set there is a itty bitty little heart. I'm going to use that and put some little hearts in my greenery. My sentiment here that says, love you yesterday, love you still, always have, always will. Love this sentiment. I just think it's awesome. We'll put that on the block, get that ready. Okay, we'll start off with our planter, and I'm going to use that same Berry Sorbet ink. I'm just going to ink this up, and I'm going to stamp this here. And then we have a detail layer, and that has, to give it a little bit of texture, I'm going to use my dark chocolate ink for the detail layer. We'll go ahead and stamp some of that. For our planter, I'm going to use two different greens of ink. I have Limeade Ice, and then I also have New Leaf. I like a gradient on my leaves just to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to add a little bit of the New Leaf at the very bottom. And we will stamp this. Maybe we'll stamp one more time. Let's stamp a little bit of our New Leaf first, and then go over it with our Limeade Ice. Maybe this will have a little bit of a smoother blend. And I think that worked out better. That one. I like that one better. Okay. We're going to keep these inked out because we're also going to stamp this floral here. So let's, okay. I like this little round floral. We'll take the leaf here. I'll ink this up with my Limeade Ice. And then I'll just add a little bit of my New Leaf on the edges. And we will stamp this as well. And then we'll take the floral in here. And I'll stamp this. Do we want Berry Sorbet? Yeah, we'll stamp with Berry Sorbet. We'll stamp our little round florals and our little leaf. And then we have a detail layer for that flower as well. It is right here. I love all that detail. I'm going to add dark chocolate ink for the detail layer. Like so. I mentioned that itty bitty little heart. For that heart, we're going to bring in pure poppy ink. I want some bold red. And we will stamp a couple little hearts on our greenery. And I made sure to put those little hearts on the inside of the greenery. That way when we die cut it out, it doesn't chop it off. While we have our pure poppy ink out, there's a large heart in our stamp set. I'm going to stamp this 2 times. With our same pure poppy ink. Wonderful. For my sentiment, I mentioned we're going to be using the Love You Yesterday, Love You Still, Always Have, Always Will. I just love that. I'm going to stamp this with my true black ink. And instead of keeping this all one piece, I'm going to stamp this. And then I'll use my paper trimmer and I'm going to section each one of these off so I have 5 strips of this sentiment. Okay, I think we are ready to do a little bit of die cutting. Okay, I'm going to die cut these out, and then with this extra piece of cardstock, I'm going to use just the cloud dies. We have some clouds we can use with some inks in our stamp set, but I'm not going to use them. I'm just going to use the dies and die cut out one large cloud and then two small. So I have a little bit of die cutting to do. When I'm all done, I will be right back. Okay, all my die cutting is die cut out, and before we start to assemble, I did realize that there is a detail layer for my hot air balloon to give this even more dimension. So I'm going to take that detail layer, I'm just going to put it on acrylic block, and using my dark chocolate ink, I'm going to add this layer over my heart. Wonderful. So now we have a little bit of extra dimension to our heart. I'm going to put some fun foam on my balloon string piece, and we're going to layer this heart over the existing heart, and those ribbons that we stamped should just line up beautifully, and we should have a little bit of dimension to go with it. I went ahead and put together my little planter. Turned out really cute. I'm going to flip this around and add some adhesive to the very top, and I already put foam behind here, some foam squares. I'm going to tack this down to the strings of my balloon. So my balloon is good to go. I do want to add a couple foam squares behind the balloon so everything is nice and even. And you can see I cut my sentiment into strips. I think it's going to create a playful look. Now I want a background panel to put all of my elements on, and so for that I'm bringing in the Love to Layer rectangles. I'm going to take the largest rectangle here, and using Limeade ice and Hawaiian Shoes cardstock, I'm going to start by freehanding a little hillside here. And I will lightly tack this together, and then I'll use the die here, and we're going to create a panel to put our scene on. I'll run this through my die cut machine. I love the detailed edge on these Love to Layer rectangles. Now I'm going to take my balloon, I'm going to flip it around, I'm going to remove the release paper, and then we can place our balloon on our panel here. I'm going to take my clouds that we created, and we're going to add, let's see, I like when they overhang a little bit. Okay, we're going to go ahead, I already put some foam adhesive behind each one of my sentiment strips. We're going to go ahead and add our sentiment. And I think that looks wonderful. We're going to go ahead and add our little hearts, and I did put some foam adhesive behind them. And then we'll add our little floral. We'll put a small foam square behind here too. For my background, I'm going to use a panel that I created using some pattern paper from the Funky Town pattern paper pack. And this measures 3 inches tall by 4 1/4 inches wide. I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive behind this panel. And we're going to place this on the bottom of our card base, which is a standard A2 size card base. So it's 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 inches tall. I think the polka dots are just going to add some extra playfulness to our project. And then I'll flip this panel around. I'm going to add some adhesive behind it. And then we're going to tack this down in the center of our card base. Lovely. For finishing touches, I'm going to bring in some glossy accents. and we're going to go over the heart. And then I'm also going to go over the little red hearts that are on our little planter for a little added shine. And that finishes my card project today for Papertrey Ink. A fun, playful Valentine card. I hope you enjoyed my project. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.